Have you ever found yourself trying to get closer to someone, only to feel like the more effort you put in, the further they pull away? It's confusing, isn't it? You wonder what you're doing wrong, replaying every conversation and every moment in your mind. The truth is, it's not always about you. It's about them. And sometimes, it's about the way they've learned to protect themselves from vulnerability. This video isn't about fixing someone or blaming anyone. It's about understanding the delicate dance of connection and independence that often defines avoidant personalities. If you've ever loved someone who seems to withdraw the moment things get close, then stay with me, because I'm going to show you how to approach this with calm, clarity, and strength. Now, I won't lie to you. What we're about to discuss takes patience and a lot of self-awareness. But here's the good news. With the right mindset and approach, you can create an environment where an avoidant woman feels safe enough to stay close, on her own terms. Before we dive in, take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Here we unravel the complexities of relationships and explore how wisdom, empathy, and practical strategies can transform the way you connect with others. If that sounds like something you need, hit subscribe now, and let's begin. Picture this. You've just had a wonderful evening together. You feel closer than ever, and for the first time she opens up a little. But the next day she's distant, and you can't figure out why. What do? Do you call her, ask what's wrong, or give her space? Each choice matters more than you think. We'll come back to this scenario later, but for now, let's explore what really drives avoidant behavior and how you can navigate it without pushing her away. Before we go further, let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a situation where someone you cared about suddenly pulled away? How did you respond? Reflect on that for a moment, and if you're comfortable, share your experience in the comments. You never know who might benefit from your story. Now, let's start unraveling the puzzle of avoidant attachment and what it takes to build a connection that lasts. 1. Define the problem. Before we get into the solutions, let's take a moment to understand the core of the problem. Avoidant behavior in relationships often stems from a fear of vulnerability. It's not that the person doesn't want connection. In fact, they might crave it deeply. But they've learned, consciously or unconsciously, to associate closeness with discomfort, even pain. You might notice signs. She avoids deep conversations, changes the subject when emotions come up, or seems distant right after an intimate moment. These behaviors can feel personal, but they're not necessarily about you. They're about her trying to protect herself from what she perceives as emotional risk. It's a tricky dynamic because the natural response is often to try harder, to reassure her, to pull her closer. But here's the paradox. The harder you push, the more she'll pull away. So, what's the solution? It starts with shifting your mindset and approach. To truly connect with someone who's avoidant, you have to meet them where they are, not where you want them to be. 2. Build suspense. Let's revisit the scenario I mentioned earlier. You've just spent a wonderful evening together, and for the first time, she's opened up to you. Maybe she shared something personal, a story from her past, a fear she rarely talks about, or even a simple but meaningful acknowledgement of how much she enjoys your company. It feels like a breakthrough, like you've crossed a threshold in the relationship. But then the next day, she's distant. She doesn't return your texts as quickly, or she seems preoccupied when you talk. You wonder if you said or did something wrong, and the urge to fix it, to bring back that sense of closeness, becomes overwhelming. Your instincts might tell you to check in right away, to ask if she's okay, or to plan the next date to keep the momentum going. After all, isn't that what we're taught? That communication is the key to relationships? But here's the thing. For someone with avoidant tendencies, the key isn't about communicating more. It's about communicating differently. And sometimes doing nothing is the most powerful move you can make. Why? Because doing nothing isn't about neglect or indifference. It's about allowing her the space to process. When someone with avoidant tendencies shares a vulnerable moment, it can trigger an automatic response, a need to retreat, to regain control over their emotions. This doesn't mean they regret opening up or that they care any less. It simply means they need time to reconcile their feelings and the vulnerability they've just experienced. I'll explain why in a moment. First, let's talk about the concept that can completely change the way you approach avoidant behavior: emotional safety. This is the foundation of any healthy relationship, but for someone with avoidant tendencies, it's absolutely critical. And the surprising part? Emotional safety isn't just about making her feel comfortable. It's about how you manage your own emotions and reactions. Third core principle: emotional safety. So, what does emotional safety look like in practice? It starts with one word: space. Avoidant individuals often need time to process their emotions, especially after moments of closeness. If you crowd them during this processing time, they'll retreat further. Instead, give her the room to come back on her own. But here's the catch. Giving space doesn't mean becoming cold or detached. It means being consistently warm and available without being overbearing. Think of it as creating an open door. She needs to know you're there, but she also needs the freedom to walk through it at her own pace. Another key part of emotional safety is avoiding blame or criticism. When she pulls away, it's easy to feel hurt or frustrated. But instead of reacting with accusations like, "Why are you so distant?" or "Do you even care about this relationship?" try shifting the tone. Say something like, "I've noticed you've been quiet lately. I'm here if you want to talk." This keeps the door open without pressure. 4. Actionable steps. Now that we've covered the foundation, let's dive into actionable steps you can take to keep an avoidant woman close without pushing her away. Step 1. Stop chasing. The first step is counterintuitive. Stop chasing. Chasing triggers her need to withdraw. Instead, focus on creating stability. This means showing up consistently, but without overwhelming her. For example, if she's not responding to your texts immediately, resist the urge to send follow-ups. Give her time to respond on her own terms. Step 2. Respect her boundaries. Avoidant individuals are highly sensitive to boundaries. If she expresses a need for space, honor it. This doesn't mean disappearing. It means letting her take the lead while you remain supportive. You might say something like, "Take all the time you need. I'm here when you're ready." Step 3. Focus on yourself. One of the best ways to create attraction and reduce pressure in the relationship is to focus on your own growth. Pursue hobbies, spend time with friends, and work on your personal goals. This not only makes you more confident and fulfilled, but it also eases the pressure on her. Step 4. Communicate with clarity and calmness. When you do talk about the relationship, use language that fosters connection without pressure. For example, instead of saying, "I need you to open up more," try, "I'd love to hear more about what you're thinking and feeling when you're ready." Let me share a story about Mark and Sarah. Mark was in a relationship with Sarah, who had avoidant tendencies. Whenever they got close, Sarah would pull back, leaving Mark feeling confused and hurt. Instead of reacting with frustration, Mark decided to try a different approach. He gave Sarah space, focused on his own goals, and communicated with calmness and understanding. Over time, Sarah began to feel safer and more open, and their connection grew stronger. What made the difference? It wasn't about changing Sarah. It was about Mark changing his approach. Remember, loving someone with avoidant tendencies requires patience, empathy, and self-awareness. It's not about fixing them or changing who they are. It's about creating a relationship dynamic where both of you feel secure and valued. If this video gave you a new perspective, take a moment to like and share it with someone who might need to hear this. And if you want more insights on building strong, meaningful relationships, don't forget to subscribe. Together we'll navigate the complexities of love and connection, one step at a time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.